Welcome to On with Origence, the podcast where credit union leaders explore the ideas shaping the future of lending and technology. This episode is part of a special series recorded live at Lending Tech Live, Origence's annual lending and technology conference. We brought these sessions to you so the conversations that energize the room don't stay in the room. Let's get into it.
Love getting to learn firsthand where innovation is taking us. Dan and Press right there at the news desk to join David Adams for another live On with Origence podcast. And this one goes even deeper. Thank you again to our exclusive crystal sponsor, Scienaptic, for sponsoring this podcast you're about to watch. Joining David and Dan at the news desk, we have Patrick McElhenie, Chief Growth Officer at Scienaptic. We have Amir Bouzardjomehri, Chief Information Officer at Origence, and Michael Desimone, Chief Lending Officer at Citadel Credit Union. Friends, let's kick it over to David and the panel at the On with Origence news desk and welcome them with a round of applause.
Thank you, Fred, and welcome to On with Origence. This episode is called From Probability to Practice, How Credit Unions Are Winning with AI-Powered Lending. I've got an esteemed panel up here to join me today, and thank you for your time. Here's the first question, and Patrick, I want to have you open it up, please. What is the gap, and this is a little provocative maybe, so just hang with me here, but what is the gap between where most credit unions think they are with AI and where they actually are?
It's a great question. I think what you see with credit unions, if they're using AI, they're using it in isolation. I think they're looking for one problem to solve, and they're not actually maximizing the capability of AI, for example, across the entire lending life cycle. So they may be using it as a fraud signal, and once that fraud signal is delivered, that's where it stops.
Or they could be using it to underwrite a credit decision, but it stops there. I think the opportunity is to actually maximize that AI decision and take that through the entire life cycle for that member. So you can actually use it 6 months later to look for an early warning sign if there's a cross-sell opportunity for that member, or maybe a credit line increase, because AI can search those things and actually anticipate that prior to anyone else. So I think it's just not using it in isolation, but making sure that it's used across the entire life cycle.
Thank you. Our esteemed gentleman here with the credit union, how would you answer that? And by the way, he's a reform banker in the credit union space, and leaning forward, so appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that is the reality, is that it's an end-to-end tool and it can catalyze many steps in the process. So I came in and saw an organization that had speed optimized for the people that were in their seats, but there were still ebbs and flows, and hiring irresponsibly wasn't the solution to handle those ebbs and flows. And so we looked at each one of those processes and said, how can we optimize what these individuals are doing really effectively by taking some of the work away from them so they can focus on the important things that are out there?
Amir, do you want to weigh on this?
Yeah, from my perspective, the way I look at it, and I talk to a lot of credit union members, again, what I hear is that everyone wants to do AI, but data are siloed, as you mentioned, and that is your pipelines that you need to work on, and without it, your data is not accurate. So data is key, and in order for us to be successful in this, we need to fix the plumbing, and that's the piece that no one talks about.
Thank you. By the way, Amir is one of our heroes here at Origence, kind of leading our AI charge, and much appreciated with your leadership. So, Dan, just to kind of react to these gentlemen, obviously different perspectives on, I know you're kind of outside looking in the credit union space, but I just kind of want to get your reaction to that, and then I've got a follow-up question for you.
Yeah, of course. One of the things I love that Patrick said a second ago was you could have AI go through that experience and identify things that you might want to take a look at. Right? AI is really going to excel in that sort of area where it's identifying things that you might want to do. It's really great at prioritizing things that should get your attention. If you had to go through all of the data for all of the member experiences over the last 27 years or however much you have, it would take you too long, and so you would only look at the high-level metrics. AI can go way deeper under the covers, but the cost of going way deeper under the covers is sometimes it's going to identify some false positives. And so the more you think about AI as just giving you things that you might want to look at, the safer you are in that whole exchange, and it will make your expertise dramatically better than it could have been without it.
Just a quick follow-up on that, Dan. So obviously we got some leaders that make decisions here at the credit unions. When I've talked to credit unions, when they're trying to get involved and start their AI journey, or maybe just in the beginnings of it, You mentioned probably privacy 3 or 4 times in your remarks, and that's a concern. Privacy, you have sensitive member data, so how should they approach that? And I know there's vendors that can probably help shield them from that, but just to get off that fear.
Yeah, first, it's valid, right? There are a lot of startups in the world that are sort of moving fast and loose and trying to land grab, in the AI game. And so you should be cautious. You should, very, very diligently look at the kinds of things that are happening. What generally is helpful, if you have an IT team that's helping to set stuff up, or you have a vendor that's partnering with you on that journey, is to have these cascading areas for AI to work in, right? None of you needs super private data to translate from English to Spanish, right? You can use the global non-private stuff to get sentences recommunicated in Spanish. But you also have super private member data in your own sandbox that you don't want to just upload into Claude or ChatGPT. And so you should have your locally running tool that's using that stuff in a sandbox. And so as you start to understand what the vendor setups are doing to create that sort of cascading series of AI operations. So everything's not just going into one big pile, and that one big pile is ChatGPT, right? Everything is operating locally when it needs to be super private, and then getting slightly less private as you move up that chain. A little bit hard, take some implementation advice, but.
For sure, thank you. Thank you for that. Amir, I'm going to start with you on this question, because I know it's near and dear to you. So when did AI stop being optional for you? When it was like a specific moment that made it real as we started the journey here at Origence?
For me, it wasn't a single dramatic moment. It was watching the clock when I saw how a member wait time would be lessened by better decisioning, faster decisioning. And when it equated to the member experience, it wasn't a tool anymore. It was measuring stick, leveraging it, how you improve your processes. It gave you the competitive advantage.
Absolutely. Patrick, same question to you.
For us, it's always been about AI because that's what we do.
Sure.
I think it's in the data and the results. If you look at our mission statement, we focus and we want to say we're building a more fair and inclusive lending ecosystem. When you see your clients achieve a 40% increase in loans to protected classes, or a 50% increase of loans with people with no file or thin files, well, then you're helping credit unions achieve that mission. And that's where that fulfillment comes in, is just the data behind the results.
Absolutely, thank you. How about you, Michael?
It's thematically the same. It's member expectations. We wanted to find a way to enable credit to more of our members. We knew that there were more out there that were credit worthy, but they didn't fit into our traditional models and boxes. For example, I look across this room, there's a lot of lending horsepower sitting here. And if we all got together to talk about a credit decision, we'd come up with a really good decision, and it would take us into happy hour. An AI model can do that in a minute, right? It can use all of our decision, all the objective data that it can gather on an applicant, and make that decision as effectively or more effectively, consistently, in a very fast way. So the capacity for the AI model to think through decisions, take in so many variables as if all of you were providing those in this room, and do so effectively and quickly is where we saw a real difference. And then, for the mission, we can meet member expectations better, we can grow the organization effectively and safely, and in doing so, improve our community.
Thank you. Dan, I'm actually going to ask you, you've been on your A journey probably longer than most in this room, but was there a time when you're like, hey, this is a reality now?
Yeah, I think the first time the light bulb really went off for me was when I took a potential customer call and I uploaded it into AI, and I said, compare this to these other 3 customer calls, like which one was the best? And it told me, and then it told me why, and then it told me what I should do next time to make it even better than that. And it just, as soon as I realized it was like giving me a performance review advice every 20 minutes on everything I touch, the snowball started rolling down the mountain.
Absolutely. Patrick, we talked about, I think you said 53%, obviously protected classes, and actually get to say yes, but how does AI help you to say yes to more members than a traditional credit model, like historically a FICO, and those type? And then how does that really, is it achieving both the mission of a credit union, and then is it also making the business case?
Absolutely. So with AI models, you look at, number one, it's going to help with loan growth. It's also going to help with automation. It's also going to help with fraud. When you see credit unions such as Four Leaf Credit Union achieve $400 million in incremental loan growth come in without actually increasing delinquencies, that's where you see the model really, really working. And that's really a business case that a lot of credit unions want to see. Absolutely.
Thank you. It's kind of an interesting question. We all know we're trying to put these tools into place to improve the member experience, but where does it actually risk making it worse or making a bad experience? I don't know if Michael, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think the risk is real, and I think what really is important to understand is that's why the human in the loop is so important to the process, because there are risks in using AI, and that's why all of us are relevant. We should know that AI isn't going to be perfect, and we shouldn't expect it to. The places where there's risk, where I wouldn't trust a model, is maybe a really complex financial situation. Maybe it's a hardship situation or a request for hardship help. It's those situations where the story supports the decision and informs the decision in a way that AI can't understand, feel, or morally decide what the right thing to do is.
Very, very good answer. Thank you. Amir, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's where governance comes in play. The governance for me it's three things. It needs to be explainable, it needs to be human in the loop, and you need to be able to audit it. From explainability, if you tell a member no, you need to tell them why. A machine said no, it's not a legal answer. You also need to be able to human in a loop, as you mentioned. You set a model. If the human is not in a loop, if the data changes, that model drifts. And as long as the human is in the loop, that data, it can change that model. So that human always needs to be in the loop. And again, you need to be audited because we all go through various audits. So you need to explain why you made a decision, how you made it, and it would need to be a repeatable offense. You have those. Governance is going to help you to, it's not going to slow you down. It's going to legally allow you to use AI and all the above.
Yeah, do you have any thoughts on this?
Same theme. I would say you never want to trust a black box. You need to make sure that if a reason's given for a loan denial, you have the reason. But secondly, going back to what Dan said during his presentation, AI should never replace a human. It's only going to make their job easier and better and help them do their job better.
Is there all these new entrants coming in? I know you cataloged a few that are in your remarks coming in. Maybe I can start with you here, Dan. Maybe give us advice to our industry. Is there a competitive threat that would keep you up at night, or in the fintech world that we're not seeing yet, that we need to carry our arms around, that, man, we've got to either embrace this technology because we don't have it yet to be competitive, or it's really going to come eat our lunch that the banks already have, for example?
I don't know that I really know the competitive threats that will come. I do think there's a chance that some things that are very nationally constrained right now will start becoming internationally constrained. Like right now, some people are like, well, yeah, but the US law says we have to do this, and all of our people are in the US, and so people will start going to, I don't know, Zimbabwe to get loans. That's going to start bleeding out of your control, I think. And that's the world is just becoming more global, and that's going to be an interesting phenomenon to watch.
Absolutely. Amir, I know you're always watching trends. Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Yeah, and this one specifically is it's our integration debts. It's those that can't connect their data fast enough to decide the speed of a car deal. Again, in this business, we're giving deals. The member is sitting at the dealership. The decision that comes in second and minutes wins. Anything comes after that, doesn't matter how good the rate was, you already lost.
Absolutely. We just got another minute and a half or so left, but I'm going to go quick lightning round here. So there's obviously some leadership here. If a credit union executive in this room has done nothing on AI yet, one message to give them right now. Amir, I'll go back to you.
Stop waiting for the perfect use case. Pick one decision that your team makes 100 times a week, put AI on it, and a human in the loop watching it and repeat it. What you will learn in 90 days is far more than what you study in a year. Just pick it. Don't boil the ocean. Do it one cup at a time.
Very good advice, Amir. How about you, Patrick?
Same thing. You find one use case, find one specific element, and don't be afraid. If you don't get on the bus, your competition is getting on the bus, and you're going to be left behind.
Absolutely. How about you, Michael, at the credit union?
Yeah, more of the same, maybe said a slightly different way. Don't wait for perfect. It's not going to arrive. In fact, nothing that we do today is perfect. You probably already know that. Starting small, staying focused on member outcomes is a good place to be, because once you see those member outcomes flourish, because you tune your model and make it perfect, you can really get some momentum and go on to the next thing that might be slightly bigger. And don't be afraid to start learning today, because that will turn you into a leader tomorrow.
How about advice from our guest speaker here?
I think the last thing is this is going to be the fastest transformation you've ever had to go through. I think I heard earlier the average amount of time a car owner has a car before they buy the next one is 26 months.
About that.
Somebody said that. I think you have 26 months to get on this AI car, or you're going to get left in the dust. I think that's the timeline.
26 months. All right, we'll take that number. Well, Dan, that's the end of our time. So Dan, Michael, Patrick, Amir, to our audience out there, I want to thank you. This has been On with Origence. Back to you, Fred.
That's a wrap on this episode of On with Origence. There are more conversations from Lending Tech Live in this series. Find them wherever you listen and subscribe so you don't miss one. Thanks for tuning in.